everyone, welcome back to UNC YouTube channel. So Jolene, I do hope that after last week sharing with you, I did get you spiced up and interested about property investment, did I?
Yes, you did.
But do you know that even though property investment, when it's done the right way, it could reap you a lot of reward, but there are also plenty of pitfalls for landlord to go through it if you are not being careful about it. But definitely, I would say as a wise person, not every pitfall we have to go through it ourselves in order to learn from it. We can always learn it from other people's mistakes. That is the purpose of this channel as well. Today, I would like to share with you one of a true story, kisah benar of one of my clients, which happened to him and is quite costly, which I hope that every landlord or every would-be landlord would be able to avoid it at all costs.
Okay, ma'am, let's get started.
Okay, this happened to one of my clients. In order to protect his identity, I would just call him Mr. A. Mr. A is a landlord for one of the shop lot that he owned. So he has been renting out his shop lot to one of his tenants who was using it for retail F&B, food and beverage. I think this tenant rented the shop lot from him for the past 2 to 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Prior to end of the third year, the tenant actually voiced out to Mr. A to tell him that he will not be renewing the tenancy because the tenant has got planned to go back to his hometown. This tenant has been promptly paying rental to Mr. A. So Mr. A has always been thinking that this is one of his good tenants and he was quite happy with it. I think on the very last day, when the tenant handed over the key back to Mr. Mr. A even bought him a farewell dinner. So what happened is that just when Mr. A thought that everything was going well, few months later after the end of the tenancy, Mr. A suddenly received a notice from TNB, which is electricity company in Malaysia, we call it TNB, to inform him that there was an outstanding of totaling to about, I think, ringgit Malaysia 30k. 30k outstanding, you know. So when my client Mr. A received this notice, he was definitely very shocked. So he made a few trips down to TNB to get this matter clarified. Not only he learned from TNB that in fact the meter in his shop lot was being tampered with, and TNB has already started investigation onto his shop lot tampered meter for a few months silently. Despite the TNB account was being registered under the previous tenant's name, despite TNB know that this TNB account was being used by Mr. A previous tenant, TNB still hold Mr. A accountable just because he is the owner of the shop lot. Mr. A learned a very painful lesson. In the end, he still need to foot the whole outstanding of 30k due to the meter being tampered with by the previous tenant. So what can we learn from this episode? In fact, if you are the landlord, right, what do you think that you would have done differently from Mr. A in order to prevent such issue before on you?
Check the bill every month.
Do you know that Mr. A did that? In fact, his past tenant has not only been promptly paying him the rental, but has also been promptly paying TNB payment as well. In fact, what we can learn from Mr. A's incident is, always remember, prior to the ending of your tenancy, be it shop lot or residential property, especially shop lot, I would want to emphasize, always make a trip down to TNB office and find out if there is any open cases being opened up towards your premises, if there is any ongoing investigation on your premises. This is to avoid if let's say your tenant were to also do a similar stuff, which is tampering with the meter. I would hope that it's not the norm, but I have heard of many cases where most of the tenants who rented commercial property, usually they would tamper with the meter to make sure that they don't pay the full usage of the electricity during the whole tenancy period while using the premises. But when it comes to residential, so far I have not heard many incidents where the tenant actually tampered with the meter in residential property. That could be due to, usually for residential purpose, the usage of electricity will not be as high as compared to if you do use it for commercial purpose. Am I right? Yeah.
Wow, ma'am, 30k is a huge sum. What would happen if Mr. A could not pay this amount?
Good questions. In fact, 30k is indeed a big amount. Mr. A did appeal to TMB repeatedly in order to get a discount, but to no avail. TMB still insists that Mr. A is liable to pay full amount of this sum and there is no discount being given. But one saving grace is that at least TMB allowed Mr. A to pay this 30k over an installment of 12 months. So I think every month he still need to fork out about 2005 instead of a lump sum of 30k. What a painful lesson to learn, right?
Yeah.
So just now you did bring up a very good point. You asked me why didn't Mr. A contact his previous tenant to ask him to make good of the outstanding issued by TMB, right? In fact, Mr. A did, but unfortunately the tenant of his was not a local. I think he is a foreign national and he has already gone back to his own country, and the local number that his previous tenant used to use has already been terminated and there is no other ways to contact his previous tenant. So one thing for us to learn from this incident, always make sure we take down our past tenants' contact number and if can, email address including their places of residence, just to make sure that even after the tenancy is over, we still have some contact point with our previous tenants in case if there are still issues arising out, at least we can still contact our past tenant. So have you learned a lot from this episode?
Yes.
Me too. In fact, I always strive to learn from my client mistake and other people's mistake when it comes to property investment, and this is one of the way how I managed to avert myself from making many other pitfalls where other people has undergone.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's all for today's sharing. I hope that if you like the content of this video, remember to give a like. You are welcome to comment on this channel as well. Do remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell so that whenever we upload our new videos, you will definitely get notified. Okay, thanks for watching and bye.
Bye.